Hello and welcome to my VoicePath. I'm George Stevenson and I want to welcome Rich Tyson to this training as well. Hello, Rich.
Hi, George.
I'm here in Texas. Rich is in Utah, and that's what's great about this kind of training. Rich is the founder and president of CEO Builder. Why do you want to get trained as a radio show host, Rich?
Well, I've never done it, George, so I have mixed emotions here. On one hand, I think it could be a tremendous benefit to allow me to broadcast to more of the world, to be able to get beyond my current clientele and really share our product. On the other hand, I have to admit I have a lot of misgivings about doing it.
Well, no experience as a talk show host, but that's why we're doing this training to help people to go from a beginner to the radio show host that they'll feel confident and they'll feel like they can even do an hour show, which would be probably to most would be pretty daunting. If you were to step in and said someone just told you, Rich, do an hour show, how would you feel right now?
I would probably say, good luck, get somebody else.
So if we do this in a way that you learn how to become a confident professional radio show host, internet talk radio, you see more than just even having your own show, don't you?
Oh, I do. The nature of my business is that I bring what I call MBA level training to a group of CEO clients every month. And so we try to bring relevant topics to them. And I've been doing that for way over 20 years. And so I have really a vast group of experts that I can potentially bring on as radio show hosts, and would love to do that. And there is some interest there. I've talked to them about it. But the big question is, so how can we do that in a way that we really are professional, that we don't broadcast to the world our inadequacies and incompetencies?
This thing that's in front of me, this microphone, often can be very intimidating to people, and it's just something that you have to get used to, and the only way you get used to it is by practicing, by doing it, and eventually, of course, just doing show after show. I've been in broadcasting for 30 years. I've been a TV news director, a reporter, a producer. In the last 6 years, I've been here at an internet talk radio station here in Texas, and it's amazing that I look back in the last 6 years and I've done business leaders and political and government experts, as well as just thousands upon thousands of authors. And so it's just the thing that you have to get used to, making a friend of this microphone, and that just takes experience. So as we look at where you're at right now, Rich, there's just that feeling in your gut, right? I mean, when you're being recorded, or if you're doing something live, as you've done, you've been in front of the camera. Tell us about that first experience in front of the camera.
Well, maybe I can compare it, George, to what I do as a seminar speaker or in working one-on-one with CEOs. I'm very comfortable in that arena. I'm talking to someone, and by doing that, I can read them, I understand what's going on, I can tell whether we're connecting, whether they understand. All of that's good. But the time you reference, I got in front of a camera and I tried to do the same thing, and the camera was not human, and I found myself focusing on the camera and trying to it was, rather than doing what I do, it was worrying about the darn camera. And when I got done, it was, in my opinion, terrible.
We seem to lose our confidence, most people, when they get in front of the camera or get in front of the microphone. Like you were just saying, you're not in front of people, you're not in front of a group or one-on-one or in a small group. The whole process is getting into that communication mindset like you do. We might call it in the zone or in the flow. I mean, once you get in front of a group, you're not thinking about yourself at all, are you?
No, not at all. The content takes over, the expertise that I've built over the years takes over, and I'm very comfortable. It's like, you know, you hear this said about football players, you know, once that first hit is taken, you forget about everything else, you go play the game. And so once I'm up in front of people, it doesn't take but just a fraction of a second usually to be in the game and ready and in the flow. I haven't figured out how to do that with a camera or frankly, you know, on the phone with you interviewing me. There's still that kind of knot in my gut that I'm thinking about the process that we're using more than what I know and you know, delivering it in a way that communicates well.
And we often get hung up on how we sound. We don't hear ourselves the way other people hear us. And so when we hear ourselves for the first time being recorded, it's, you know, it really turns us off most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and especially, you know, it can be the sound of your voice that may be a little off-putting, but even more than that, when you say, hey, I really know this better than that, but, you know, I was uptight and tense and I just couldn't do it the way I do on my feet in front of people.
So the whole purpose of my VoicePath is to get rid of those mental distractions, at least to go through a process where we talk about them, we practice with different interviews. I interview you, you eventually interview someone else. You do before the microphone, you do a rant or a soliloquy or something that really you're passionate about all by yourself. Those kinds of experiences will you know, give you the confidence to do it on a regular basis.
Well, that's what I'm looking to do. I've said this to you before, George. You know, the real cost of doing this, in my opinion, isn't the dollars. The cost is getting past the inadequacies, the incompetency, if you will, being on the phone, in front of a camera, in front of a microphone. Any cost is way too high if you're not good at it, because then you're putting out a bad product and you're, you know, I guess at best everybody ignores you, and at worst you're convincing people that they shouldn't work with you.
Well, we all understand that internet talk radio is really a part of social media today. We take for granted websites and emails and of course Facebook. It's all part of life now, and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest, and the list goes on, but we need to add internet talk radio to social media, and that's really why you and I are doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see, again, you know, I'm of sufficient age that all of social media is challenging for me, so I'm learning this as I go. But I absolutely believe that internet talk radio is a key piece of it. It is as valuable and maybe potentially far more valuable than putting blogs out and gaining followers that way.
I really love what Steve Jobs of Apple Computer said about changing the world. He said, passionate people can change the world for the better. And I believe with radio, and of course TV as well, but radio, you're focused on a voice, you hear the voice, you feel the passion, you understand the knowledge that the person has, and that person then becomes the authority. And so that's what we're trying to do, is help people literally become the authority, connecting to people through the digital world, through this smartphone that we all carry around with us now. It's a very exciting future for everyone in whatever reason they have to be a radio show host.
Makes sense to me. I think it's both that passion you talk about, and again, part of what was lacking when I did the video thing was where I have passion when I'm on my feet discussing some of these things and training others to learn about them. In front of the camera, it seemed to be totally lost. So I think there's the passion issue, and then there's what's the process? How do I get from where I am today, which is kind of a bumpkin in this stuff, to really sounding like not only my content's good, it's passionate, but it's also professional.
We quote Stephen R. Covey often when we're talking about my voice path. I want to leave everyone with what he said about voice. One word expresses the pathway to greatness: voice. Those on this path find their voice and inspire others to find theirs. And that pretty much sums it up. This will be a 6-step training course. We'll take the radio show host beginner to the confident talk radio show host and develop those skills to share your voice to the internet world. We want to thank you, Rich, for joining us on My Voice Path.
Thank you, George.
And I'm George
I
Stevenson.
look forward to learning this.
And I'm George Stevenson. We'll see you next time.